So firstly, it's a privilege to be present today for the release of this important book, Red Lines Redrawn, Op Sindoor and India's New Normal. It's a timely and thoughtful work that examines one of the most consequential operations in recent history. Now, as far as my memory goes, I've read a number of books of Op Sindoor, but this would be the first book that I have come across that has been co-authored by a team which includes 2 army officers, an Air Force officer and a diplomat. And indeed, joint synergistic approach, which was also a hallmark of Op Sindoor, because at 0147 hours in the MO Ops room, it was the same setting, that the similar kind of organization, the only addition was a naval colleague. So moving ahead, talking about the authors and the synergy about the book, I have known General Bipin Bakshi, who is Juliet 60 for a while now, a natural leader, also my High Command coastmate. Air Marshal Rajesh, Lima 60, I am told is as much a sword of honor from Air Force Academy as General Bakshi is from IMA. A Mirage pilot, he was awarded the Vayu Sena Gallantry Award for ops in support of the army, that is Machal sector if I understand, .3620 during Op Parakram. Both of them bring in a rich combat experience. And Ambassador Trigunath, with his very diplomatic assignments, including handling evacuations of Indians during crisis situations from Libya and Nigeria, provides the important nuances of diplomacy and widens the aperture beyond the purely military lens. As for Brigadier Bhargava is concerned, whom I have known from my Udhampur days, with his air defense background, underscores the growing importance of air defense. So while many books have been written on Op Sindoor, for me this book differs. Its strength lies in its comprehensive multi-domain approach. The authors seem to have browsed through thousands of OSINT websites, undertake research through structured questionnaires, discussions and consultations across wide range of experts and actual participants of Op Sindoor to arrive at a cogent picture of the operational details. And I went through, it was as close as to the reality. I must compliment them for that. For me personally, it was a deja vu feeling. Maybe I would have also penned down in a similar manner. Of course, I can't and I will not. So the book retraces the causation, the human tragedy, and the whole of nation approach response in a lucid manner. I picked up the book basically for skimming, but finished with deep diving. So Op Sindoor was a perfect example of how all facets of DIME come together to ensure national victory. So on the DIME front, that is the diplomacy, the statement of ME on the CCS meeting of 23rd April set the tone for events to follow. Holding the IWT in abeyance and reduction of diplomatic staff were direct actions, which I am sure was supplemented by a slew of other diplomatic engagements, which ensured worldwide condemnation of the terrorist strike. And they rightly interviewed the diplomat whom they interviewed because he played a pivotal role during, that is the pre and post preparation. More importantly, visits by all party delegations to various countries out of Sindoor vindicated the responsibility with which India conceptualized, conducted, calibrated and communicated about Operation Sindoor. Coming on to the info domain, which saw a series of coordinated actions, well planned and put into place even before the first weapon was fired. Op Sindoor was given to me, if I remember, on 29th or 30th of April, but it was not put out in the media. And as you are aware that the tweet "Justice is served" had huge record hits on Twitter. Today, as of we speak, it's nearly 23 million. The IW was credible, consistent and to a plan, which was unveiled in a sequential manner. And those who said that if you start early, you will be able to fill up the space, they stumbled and they were proved to be telling lies. There were actions in this domain from both the sides, but winner in the long run was the one whose narrative was based on truth and backed with a credible evidence. As they say, seeing is believing. And the world saw on their TV screens how the 9 targets were destroyed in a synergistic manner, that all 3 forces were involved in it through 22 minutes of precision, non-escalatory strikes, and of course followed by images of later on the damaged airfields or equipment on ground. In the military domain, we all know of the actions and reactions on both sides. 3-dimensional chess was being played, where we had war-gamed our actions in-house with our red teams and were fully prepared for multiple actions to dominate the complete escalation rate. Operation Sindoor also showed that the jointness is no longer something we aspire to do in seminars or discussions. It is something we practiced under pressure, and we came out as a successful synergistic organization. Chance and friction. These in-ops are often beyond the control of the protagonist. Tactical ups and downs will happen during the conduct. However, a wholesome positive end state based on our initial aims is what segregates a very successful mission from a not so successful one. And I can say proudly, Op Sindoor was the most successful operations. The old assumption that India requires long time for decision making, as also long drawn mobilization cycle to synchronize force application, was quietly edged out of the window. And one could say that the adversary discovered that India's decision making loop has become shorter, while theirs became longer and incoherent. Same was true for pre-positioning and calibrated mobilization of the ground forces. The economic domain saw a slew of actions by the government which enabled us before, during and even after the operations. However, we have to be careful with our supply chains and build in resilience through Atmanirbharta, which is the only solution for the long run. Dynamic response system may be a heavy response system next time. From a short duration war, it may be a heavy, long duration war. Many business houses and academia, including research establishments, during that time even offered their research and development and development products for employment, which actually happened. A good sign for the symbiotic understanding and growth of the defense industry. This was the track of academia, industry and military, which was truly synergized in all manners. And I must put it across here that the equipment was provided to us and say, don't worry about the cost. That we will discuss after Op Sindoor. Together, these perspectives in time reflect the reality that modern conflict is no longer confined to a single domain. It's simultaneous, integrated and continuous. Basically a whole of nation approach. So apart from Op Sindoor, the book also covers the entire arc from 1989 to Uri and Balakot judiciously. From assumed restraint to calibrated response to the present phase where responses are dynamic, domain agnostic and no longer predictable. We are no longer debating whether to respond, but how to shape responses without being boxed into pre-declared templates. So finally, I would like to place on record my appreciation for the distinguished team of authors for having brought out deep operational and institutional insight shaped by their diverse and rich background. And knowing the authors, I was expecting that in any case. Together, they represent a rare convergence of operational experience, strategic thought, and policy understanding. I congratulate the authors and the publishers for this important contribution to India's strategic literature. Dhanyavad, Jai Hind.